Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. My name is Christian Stewart. I am the founder and lead financial coach of Do Better Financial. I hope you're having a good Monday. I just had an incredible dinner that my fiance whipped up before he went off to his night shift. It was delicious. I was starving. There are no pics. Sorry, you had to be there. Anywho, I hope you're having a great summer. My summer is off to a pretty fantastic start, and it's going to keep rolling and rolling. We went to Jamaica, which was awesome. If you're one of my Facebook friends, you've probably seen some of the pictures that my family members have been posting. Hi, Sister Sheila. Thank you for joining me tonight. We had a blast. And the fun is not over. You'll probably hear a little bit more about my escapades for the summer a little bit later. But right now, I want to get into our topic for this evening, which is the student loan crisis. So as most of you probably have heard, Americans have quite a bit of student loan debt. And one of the hardest hit generations for the student loan crisis is actually millennials. So 80s babies, do not tune out on me. I am an 80s baby, and yes, we are considered millennials. And I know you may not think you have a whole lot in common with a 22-year-old that's at the other end of the spectrum, but you might be surprised. So Bank of America and Merrill Lynch did a study that found that millennials are the most financially stressed group of any generation. And that includes people who grew up in the Depression, which is pretty sobering. 3/4 of millennials with student loan debt say that their debt payments are unmanageable, meaning that they either can't get a handle on it or the payments are too much for them to address on a monthly basis, including their other living expenses. I'm sure everybody's heard about the fact that a lot of millennials are staying home longer. I was one of those. Now, I personally made that choice. It wasn't student loans that forced me to stay home, but I knew that I had loans that I wanted to take care of, and staying home was a great way for me to take care of that. But yeah, 3/4 of millennials are not able to deal with their student loan debt for one reason or another, either because the payment's too high, just in general. I don't know if you saw the story about the guy who got he got a degree in dentistry. He went through, and this story kind of blows my mind. He got his undergrad with no debt. His parents paid for it. But when he went to grad school for dentistry, which is apparently the most expensive major you can choose, when he went to school for dentistry, he racked up after interest, and right now he has over $1 million in student loans, which is his monthly payment, and this doesn't even come through interest, was like $10,000 or something crazy. Right? And so you hear people with stuff like that. Now, obviously, he's a dentist now, so he makes a good income, but that is a crazy payment. There's another lady that you hear about that I want to say she was a school teacher. She was an African-American woman, and I think her payments were like $900 a month, which is, you know, most of people's rent, or a good chunk of rent, depending if you live in, you live in the Houston area. Our rents run around $1,200, between $800 and $1,200 for like a 1 to 2 bedroom, depending on which part of the city you're in. Don't come at me and get mad in the comments saying that your rent is $2,500. This is a ballpark, okay? You balance out the people whose rent is $500. There are a few. You probably don't want to live there though. Anywho, the payments can be outrageous, and they don't just say that their payments are keeping them from making ends meet, which a lot of people I've heard. I've asked a couple questions on my Facebook page, and some people say that they're struggling to make ends meet, but a lot of people want to buy a home and just can't. Either their credit score is too messed up, and you can talk to Sister Sheila about that. Either their credit score is too messed up, or they just literally can't afford to save up the down payment that they want. They can't afford to deal with maintenance and so on and so forth. A lot of millennials are avoiding taking certain types of jobs, especially if it's something they love, but if they're not going to make enough money to cover the payments, they can't take the job. There's a story about a couple, they're about to get married. They both had like each $80,000 in student loan debt, and by the time they got to figuring out what they really wanted to do, hi Latanya, thanks for joining me tonight. by the time they figured out what they really wanted to do, they realized that the money they'd be making doing what they love, which was mission work, was not going to be enough to cover their payment. So they had to defer going on the mission field in order to get rid of some of their debt. So a lot of people are, putting off taking certain types of jobs and also starting families, getting married, having children, for fear of, making their lives worse or not being able to provide for them because of student loan payments. And I personally think this is a travesty. Getting an education is supposed to be a way to open up more opportunities for yourself when you're trying to get further in life. It was supposed to be part of the American dream. And for a lot of millennials and the generation coming behind us, Generation Z, it's turning into a nightmare. And this is what I want to help people navigate. So there's two groups that we're kind of talking about here, right? If you are a millennial like myself, and you in the last few years either graduated or you're still in school, you're in grad school, whatever it is, and you're trying to figure out how to juggle these payments. I have a webinar that's coming up and it's for you. If you or your student are about to start college, and you're trying to figure out your financial aid package, you're trying to figure out how you're going to pay for this, this webinar is going to be for you. So it's a free webinar, that's right, it's free, and it's going to be in two parts. So the first part, like I mentioned, is going to be about funding your education. So anybody who's trying to go back to school and doesn't want to have to deal with Sallie Mae, or wants to minimize their engagement with her as much as possible, your part of the webinar that you really want to be there for is going to be on July 5th at 8 p.m. And so if you want to come to that one, you're going to go to dobetterfinancial.com/webinar and you're going to sign up. Now here's the great thing. That URL will sign you up for both of these webinars, so you'll get the notification so you can come to both. The second one is going to be about paying off the student loans you've already got. Obviously, there are many options that there are, from repayment plans that you can use to debt forgiveness plans to just flat out working like a crazy person and paying it off. But there are a lot of options that we don't always realize that we have the ability to take advantage of. Sometimes we use the wrong option. I know that there are lots of times when consolidation works out, but there are a lot of occasions when you don't want to do it, certain loans you don't want to put together. We're going to talk about those two things, funding your education and paying off those loans, on July 5th. That's for funding your education, and July 12th is for paying off your student loans. So both of those webinars for free. If you go to dobetterfinancial.com/webinar, you can sign up, and that'll sign you up to get notifications for both of those webinars, right? So what I really want to do is make sure that people get as much information as they can going into this, and we want to try and stop this downward spiral in its tracks. I don't want this to be the hallmark of the millennial generation and then to continue into Generation Z. I want to put a stop to this. I want us to put in the work, put in the effort, get the knowledge necessary to stop just surviving, but start thriving, right? We don't want to just survive anymore. We want to move past that. We want to have our version of the American dream, and I can guarantee you that doesn't include $900 a month student loan payments, at least not forever. And that's what a lot of people feel like. They're keeping their student loans around so long they feel like it's a pet. Only thing is, they don't cuddle with you at night. They don't do cute things, and you can't feed them or rub on their bellies when you're sick. They're like freeloaders, right? They're that cousin in the basement that doesn't have a job, and not because they're disabled, but because they're just lazy, right? There's a friend of mine who I asked, in 5 words, describe Sallie Mae. She described her as a, how shall I put this gently? She described her as someone who coordinates a lot of ladies who sell their wares on street corners because she wants her money no matter what. If you don't understand that, that's okay. But she does. She demands her money. And if you're about to start school and you're thinking about signing up for these, I want you to know what's happening before you sign your name on the dotted line. Parents, don't let your 18-year-olds make this decision on their own, okay? You wouldn't let them just go out and, do whatever they want. Be like, oh, Ma, hey, I really want to go over here and just let me rebuild your car engine. You'd be like, no, you don't know how to do that, right? But we let them go and sign up for $40,000 in student loans. They don't know how any of this stuff works, okay? 75% of millennials, when surveyed, said they never learned the ins and outs of managing large amounts of student loan debt. And yet they let everybody sign up. There's no requirements. There's no, you don't have to pass any tests. You don't have to answer any questions. All you have to do is qualify, which means be a student. And a lot of students don't have any credit. So they're like, oh, they would never give your student a $500 credit card, but $50,000 in student loans? Here, right? And let's not get started on credit cards. We're going to cover that separately. But I want you parents to encourage your kids to come and listen. It will not be boring. It will be interactive as long as they will interact with me. So you may have to prod them and poke them a little bit, but I want them to come. But this is really important, not just for those young college students, but like I said, for anybody who's trying to go back, doing grad school, getting your PhD, or even if you're going back to some sort of trade school, whatever it is. Come to these webinars. Number one is going to be about funding your education, and number two is going to be about paying off whatever loans you've already got. So if you want to join me on July 5th and July 12th, go to dobetterfinancial.com/webinar. It's going to be an amazing time. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments of this video, or you can email me at christian@dobetterfinancial.com, and that's Christian like the religion, in case you didn't know. Or you can leave them on the Facebook page, which is @DoBetterFinancial. Same thing on Instagram. I want to thank you for joining me tonight. I'm going to see you guys again pretty regularly for the next few weeks, leading up into these two webinars. It's really important. I want the millennial generation to change its legacy from one of student loan debt to financial freedom. So be sure to join me. I hope you have a great Monday night, and I will see you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.